Have you ever had a miraculous encounter? I'll be talking to regular people, just like you and me, who have had experiences in life where they knew this cannot be explained by man. This can't be explained by science. This is a divine intervention from God. This is a miraculous encounter. Stay tuned. I know you've had a long day, so just feel comfortable. This is a safe zone. This is a comfort
Yeah,
place, and I don't want you to feel too much pressure. Just let's just relax. I have my water here,
yeah, I
and
know.
we'll just get started. So,
Yeah, I don't ever feel pressured around you. I know we've had lots of conversations over the years, and they've always felt safe. That's an environment I think we both try to cultivate in the work that we do for the women
right,
that we support is most importantly understanding that the conversations are one that can be very transparent and we support each other in a way that allows for that to happen. So no
right.
pressure here. No pressure here.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thanks for joining me. So,
Yeah.
let's get to it. So,
Okay.
miraculous encounters is what we're talking about. This new platform. I'm talking to people who are sharing with me their miraculous encounter, and it's always been something that I love to talk about because so many people no longer believe in miracles.
Mm.
And being a believer, I know you're a believer. I know God still operates in miracles. So I said, what is a better way to get other people to hear other people's stories and, kind of, get belief back in them. Or maybe they do believe, but they just want to relate to someone.
Right.
So that's why we're here today. So I'm going to do less talking and I'm going to
Mhm.
just go ahead and have you just open the floor and share with us today one of your miraculous encounters that you've had in life.
Certainly. So when you first asked me about miraculous encounters, I kind of thought about it from the perspective of what does people how do we as believers see miracles and why don't we see them?
Right,
Quite honestly, I feel like we as quote unquote believers, depending on how we believe or exercise our faith, determines what we see from God
right,
in regard to miracles. So I think the fact that we don't see manifestations of miracles is because a lot of us don't believe that they can occur. So if you
right.
don't believe it, you won't receive it. And I
Amen.
think the second part to that was what does a miracle really look like? What does a miraculous encounter really mean?
Hmm.
So okay, so I know we think about the sick being healed. We think about the dead being raised. Those who were blind that can't see can now see.
Right.
We think of those things, but there were two things that kind of came to my mind when I was first presented with the ask, well, have you had any more miraculous encounters? And one is life itself, we know is a miracle. like,
Yes, it
like
is.
it is. I mean, I've seen a lot of things in my years of living, and the older I get, the more I appreciate and understand the miracle of life and breath. But
Right.
so we say that, and people might think, well, that's kind of cliche, or that's not really a miracle. That's kind of just the existence of human life. But I'll take that a step further and say, for me, it's my miraculous encounter has actually been just that.
Yes.
My life, everyday living, the fact that I get up, I breathe, I move is a miracle. And I
Amen.
will say, I'll add some clarity to that by saying almost 30 years ago, the summer of 92, I was diagnosed with a chronic illness that is life threatening. And so I have lived for 30 years
Wow.
um, with that diagnosis. And so some would say, well, why don't you just believe God to heal you?
Wow.
And A part of it is like knowing that I have that diagnosis and that I get up every day is almost sweeter than knowing that he could just take it away.
Oh, wow. That's
So
powerful.
it's like I know that every day that I get up and that I am healthy and well and strong is not just by chance that I'm healthy and well and strong. I live, I breathe, I move truly because he has said, yes, we will do this again today, even with your diagnosis. So, I think the thought of looking at miracles like, well, he could just heal you. Yes, he
Mhm.
can. And I trust that that is a work that is being manifested in my life. Every day I get up and I do things to come into agreement with the manifestation of that miracle. I trust that I will be one day completely healed. But I think for me, just the fact that I've never in almost 30 years suffered illness, um, experienced hospitalization, um, was was not privileged to have children and live a normal life, be married and experience love. And when I received that diagnosis, I didn't know if that would even be a possibility. I didn't know that I would see my children, my oldest daughter at the time. I didn't know if I would see her go to pre-K or that I would see her go through, kindergarten, that I would see her graduate from high school and then college and then get married and, now have her own husband and potentially family one day. I didn't know those things were possible when I received that diagnosis, but I declared that I would live and I would not die. And
Mm.
God has every day delivered on his promises for me to live an abundant life no matter what. So I think for me, that's not just a miraculous encounter where I've experienced God's presence or the presence of the Holy Spirit in one moment, but uh, I count it a miracle that every day I get up and I'm well, every day that I get up and I can. And I think an addition to that testimony is I have two other siblings that are older than me, that were older than me. My oldest brother passed away at 14, and my
Oh,
second
wow.
oldest brother passed away at 24, almost 9 years later.
Wow.
So
So
here I
sorry.
am at 48,
Mm.
could have very well experienced the same fate, and
But
I'm
you're here.
here and they are not, is a
Wow.
miracle to me. So that is the sum of how I have experienced miraculous encounter in my life.
That was very powerful, very amazing. Thank you so much
Oh,
for
you're
being
welcome. Thank
transparent
you.
and sharing that with us. That very touching. And as I heard you speak, I the first thing I heard was he is healing her. He has healed her. And
Yes.
he's healing you through your faith. Look how your faith has grown. You got a diagnosis, an illness that, at first I'm sure there was some fear. And now you're every day you're living your life. You are living a testimony. You're helping others because I know you and I know some of the things you do. And you have literally grown so much in your faith. And that could have been God's way of healing you,
Yeah.
and that definitely fits the description of a miraculous encounter because you encounter a miracle every day
Okay.
as you arise. God wakes you up every day, and you realize that's a miracle. So that's awesome. Again, Tracy, thank you so much for sharing. I did want to ask a couple questions based on your story. My first question would be, what was the pivotal moment for you where you knew or you realized this was a divine intervention of God? Like when did that light bulb turn on that you're like, God is really in this. This is really his miracle.
Wow, probably a few times throughout the years because I have walked this out for such a long period of time. But I would say the first time I realized that he was in it was The first unction I got that I will live and not die.
Yes.
I feel like everything around me was telling me otherwise. There was no real clear indication that I had the resources, that I had the education, that I had
Mm.
the support, that I needed
Mhm.
to live well.
Mhm.
So there was no indication that said you will live and not die. There was no indication that prompted me to think differently than what I knew or had seen or experienced around that diagnosis. There was very little that gave me any assurance that I would be okay, except for that nudging, you will live and not die.
Do you remember how you felt that? Was it like something that, dropped in your spirit? Do you just wake up one day? Like, how did that feel? How did that moment feel?
It was very much like I think I was sitting in a contemplative state about what does this really mean for me in my future?
Mm.
And wondering, okay, looking at, my brothers and wondering again what my fate might be.
Mhm.
And in my in my thinking, it was simply something that was dropped into my spirit that
Mm.
this is not going to overtake you.
Amen.
It will not um, overcome you. You will live. And I've not only just lived, I've lived well.
Amen.
I've not, I've not,
Abundantly.
I've lived well. So yeah, I think that was the first time that I experienced that very early in my diagnosis. I probably was maybe less than a year in.
Mm.
Yeah, so it was very early in my diagnosis, and I was just assured that no matter what would occur in my life, I mean, it didn't keep me from doubting. It still didn't make me
Of
wonder,
course. But deep down,
but
you knew.
I've seen evidence of that promise in these last 29 years. So,
Mm.
yeah.
That's amazing. So everything is just manifesting what you heard, and you're living it. You're living it. So, whew, so is it safe to say that that moment where you knew you would live and you would not die, that moment where you knew that this was a miracle, has this changed you? How has this experience, has it changed you as a person, and how?
Absolutely.
It's all right. I'm
Absolutely.
going to say those are good tears.
Yeah, for sure. How has it changed me?
Mm.
Well, this past week I share with you that I struggled really, really bad for the first
Mhm.
time in like my adult life with just really low lows. And um I just said, I don't have to do any of this. Not life, because I love life,
Right.
but the pursuing of purpose,
Mm.
the things that I've attached to that the roles I've attached to purpose, I don't have to really do any of that. I could just be me and show up wherever I show up, and I would be operating in purpose.
Wow.
But when you made me think about this question, the answer to this question, um, it was a reminder that I don't get to just not do any of this. So how has it changed my life? Um, like there is obviously a purpose for me being here and outliving my siblings,
Mm.
despite it, in spite of it. So knowing that, you know, I have life regardless, it makes me understand that I cannot take that for granted. There is a reason for that. I don't get to just say I don't matter.
Right.
I don't get to just say I'm not gonna do that. And we're human, so I'm entitled to my lows. Um, but I said the answer to this question may be a tool to help me get up.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
think about the answer to this question when you sent it to me. I sent you a text back saying, "This question may be a tool to help me get up." So that's how it changed my life. Like when I really, really sit back and think about the
Mm.
miracle of my life, I don't have the luxury to
Wow.
just not. So I am um because of this experience in my life. Like it would be easy for me to just say, okay, I don't have this diagnosis. I'm living life and I'm doing what everybody else does. But because I have seen God's hand on my life in the midst of this,
Mm.
it is a reminder that I I could really just not be here. And the fact that I am matters. I matter. So that's it. It's a reminder of how I matter.
And you definitely matter. And I'm just sitting here like I keep saying, thank you, God. That's all I can say because all glory to Him. I
Yeah.
just the fact that this question alone reminded you of your purpose and how you are a miracle. And I know you don't take it for granted, but like you said, we're human and
Yeah.
we have our moments. We're all entitled to them. But I'm just thankful to God that He has just given you that nudge to know that keep going because He's still with you. And
Yeah.
you know, when you get up from this place and you start living out your purpose again, God's hands is with you, and you know that He has so much more life for you to live. So when you look at it from that perspective, where you're a survivor, you're living, you're a miracle. I'm a walking miracle.
Miracle.
It's so that's a way of getting out of that place that's trying to hold you back. Like you can't hold me back. God blesses me every day, like He does all of us. We're all miracles, really. We're all walking miracles, and
Yeah.
just
We absolutely are.
I'm so thankful that He is pulling you and showing you that it's not over and that He's still with you, and your miracle has still a long time to go. Like He promised you life, He promised you abundant life. Because you remember when you heard it 29 years ago. That
Yeah,
was His promise.
it
So
was indeed.
let me ask you this, Tracy. This is a great conversation. I'm just so thankful to God for what He's doing. What would you tell someone out there who doesn't believe that God still operates miracles? Maybe they don't see the burning bush, or they don't see, like, the man Lazarus, raised from the dead. They're not seeing the things they read. So they're saying, oh, God doesn't do miracles. Or maybe they're just not believers at all and they just don't believe. What would you say?
I think it is perspective. Very much how we choose to be grateful and express gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, It is simply, we don't always feel like, oh, it's a hallelujah great day. But there is something to exercising gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that to make the point that for those who do not believe in miracles, it may just be perspective on what you think a miracle is. Kind of what I said at the start of this is looking at a tree, the air, and yes, there's science. And so for me, I feel like a lot of times we negate the things that we see around us, natural occurrences as miracles because science explains them, but I believe God partners. Is it, God is has allowed science to explain the things that He has created. But I think just it's a simple reshaping of perspective, I believe, and choosing to say, the air I breathe is a miracle. Choosing to see the things that we might take for granted um, as something extraordinary, something supernatural,
Right.
something that is really beyond you.
Right.
And, you know, that's how I say. I mean, the fact that birds fly, he made them that way, but gravity exists. So how do they defy the gravity when they're I mean, I could go on and on. I really love the outdoors, but I think the
Mm.
simple answer is maybe um, a challenge around perspective and seeing things as more than what we may have minimized or reduced them to in our minds, just so that we could feel a sense of control or a sense of, oh, I can explain it. And I think that's the hard part because as humans, we want to be comfortable, we want to be in control, we want to be able to explain things, but um, everything isn't as simple. And some things are very simple, but everything isn't as
A
simple as we
coincidence.
see it. Yeah, isn't it's not a coincidence. It's not,
Yeah.
it just is because it is, but really being able to see those things as something extraordinary.
You know what just dawned on me? Thank you for sharing that. Look at how we wore both wore black and white Adidas.
Right.
We didn't talk about this prior to. We didn't say what we were going to wear, people. So that wasn't a
Right.
discussion. But I feel like God even used that. And I think it's his way of telling people, stop looking so hard for my miracles. It could be something as simple, something right in front of you
Mhm.
that's a miracle that I'm operating in that you are not giving me the glory for. You know, a lot of times we try to say coincidence or just it's a luck, and sometimes you know if we just really look at it, it's God, it's His hands, it's His work, and He gets the glory. And we should start looking at our lives, at the miracles that are occurring around us every day. And the fact that you were driving in traffic and you stopped for a burger and then there was a 4 or 5 car accident right afterwards that you would have been in, that could have very well been the Lord. And it's just allowing ourselves to be open and trust and put our faith in something higher, and not just in man. We put so much of our faith in man and science, like you mentioned, but really God trumps all of that, if I can use that word safely. He is
Well, as it
above it
relates to
all.
God, absolutely, yes.
He created it all. So
But even
that's
I mean, even the timing of things and the invention of things and the ingenuity of people, for such a time as this is
mm-hmm.
not a coincidence for me.
No.
It's just not. And again, it does go back to um, choosing to trust and choosing to believe and choosing to see what's right in front of you and choosing to kind of rethink in perspective. I think it all comes down to one of the greatest gifts God gave us is choice.
Mm.
I
Yep.
think once I started saying, help me to see things the way you see things, um,
Mhm.
I started seeing things differently.
Right.
It is
God
the
just
choice to see
changed.
and believe.
And faith, you just having faith,
Hmm.
putting our faith in Him. I feel like with you, even with your life, the more we trust Him, the more we show Him we have faith in Him, the more we'll be able to see the miracles. And I think God will stretch us and He will show us more. I think it just starts somewhere. And if it's just like He says, the faith the size of a mustard seed, start with something, showing God, okay, God, I'm going to trust you today. I'm going to take my hands off. I'm going to surrender my life to you. You show me something. And you'd be surprised how He will start to show us. Like, even like you said with this question, that was just you you're a woman of God, you have faith, and he knew where you were. So he said, I can use this to show her that I'm still God. I still
He
do
still got it.
miracles. I'm still God. I can still operate in any place, in anything that we're going through. He's still
Absolutely.
doing miracles, and we just got to trust and believe that he is, and stop looking for. Sometimes we just want something extravagant, like fall from the sky, and it could
Yeah.
just be the fact that you made it home today. Your child had an illness and they were healed, and sometimes we just keep it moving, we brush it off, and we don't think about how did he get healed. Someone else with the same thing, like you mentioned, not here today, same diagnosis, but this person's still living. Car accident, coming out with no bruises. These are miracles. So I don't want to hold you too long, Tracy. I know you had a long day.
It's been a
And I
pleasure.
do appreciate you so much for sharing your story, for being so transparent. And I just pray that this blesses someone, even you. I pray that this really opens your eyes even more to what God is doing in and through you, and that He's not done with you. He's not done with
No,
you. You have so much to do. Um, so thank you for sharing with me. What do you have any final thoughts? Anything you want to end with?
no, except for thank you. Again, excuse me. We've known each other for, ooh, I mean, at least
Quite a
at least 5 or 6 years now, which is, still a very new and budding relationship. But I think we've got some time behind us now,
yeah.
and I know um, your heart for service and people, and your desire to draw those who are in hard places to a better state of being.
Mm.
So thank you for always, you keep it moving too. Like you don't stop. You have always been an example to me of perseverance and continue to do the work where you feel like you've been called to do. So, even you reaching out, it's been a couple times where, I've reached out to you or you've reached out to me and the timing has been very, very like appropriate. And like, yes,
Yeah.
okay. It was
All right.
this was meant to be. This was meant to be a conversation. This was meant to be a hello. It was meant to be. So I just, I think in closing, I would say thank you for continuing to do the work that you do. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share, reflect and share because it is easy once you made it through so many years and you've been fine, it's easy to just assume you're going to be okay and not
Mm.
accredit that to God and not see the miracle in that. So, I do have to every now and then be reminded be reminded um, to not take it for granted that this very life of mine is a miracle. And I think just to encourage others, if I had to say one last thing, is just to encourage others that it can come down to the air you breathe.
Yes,
It can just simply come down to the air you breathe.
especially today.
Yeah. I
Mm.
we look around and there's so much going on, but it can come down to that. That in and of itself is enough. It is enough.
Absolutely.
So that's
I,
it.
well, I mean, I agree. Thank you so much, Tracy. I do appreciate you because I do get down at times, but this. I mean, I try to keep going, like you said, and I know that we kind of lean on each other a lot, and I'm always here for you. And
Same here.
I just I just pray that you continue to see his miracles in your life every day, and that this is just like you said, because I know you're a woman of God. I know you're a believer. I know how you walk in faith, but this is just a nudge, that nudge that you needed, just as a reminder. And for others to even hear your story, and knowing someone else that may have an illness and they're feeling like life may be over for them, they can hear your story and say, you know what, it's not over. I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna pick up these pieces, and I'm gonna shake it off, and I'm gonna go live out my purpose, because
Yeah.
God has more for me. And
I
that's the
mean,
miracle.
yeah, and again, the choosing to see it as a miracle and not see it as a death sentence or to
Mm,
feel down and pity and yeah, you can.
absolutely.
You can. Thanks again.
Thank you so much, Tracy. I appreciate you. You have an awesome night,
Do the same, my
and
pleasure.
I'll see you soon.
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks for sharing. Bye.
If you've experienced a miraculous encounter and you'd like to share your story, please send your name, contact information, and a brief description